What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the WGCI Music Summit. We're doing it virtually again this year. Got a great panel lined up for y'all tonight. So as everybody comes into the room, just feel welcome. Come in, settle in. If you have some questions or you hear anything that you might want to know more about, we do have the chat room open. You can submit your questions there. And we just want everybody to be informed. We want everybody to have a good time. We want everybody to walk away tonight with a little bit more knowledge and more understanding of what it takes to break into the music business once this is all done. All right. So once again, for the WGCI Morning Show, my name is Kyle Santillian. We rock out every morning. Leon Rogers, Kendra G, and myself, 6 to 10, Monday through Friday on WGCI right here in Chicago. We have a great panel right now. Very esteemed panel, some legends in the music industry, veterans in the game, and they're going to share a little bit of their knowledge and information tonight. And I want to introduce everybody, man. First and foremost, Miss Juliette Jones, COO Alamo Records. How you doing today, Juliette?
Great, but my name is actually Juliet, like Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah, I feel like I always do something that I'm like, she's going to kill me again. Miss Juliette Jones, COO Alamo Records. Thank you very much for being here. I apologize for that really quick, but thank you for being a part of this again. We're gonna do it again, right?
Yep.
All right, Mr. Amir Boyd, the Senior Director of Urban Promotions at Interscope. What's up, Amir?
How you doing, sir? Thanks for having me.
How you feeling?
Feeling wonderful. Feeling great.
We have Latrice Burnett, the EVP, Executive Vice President, Def Jam Recordings, and President of 4th and Broadway. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. And Mr. Arnold Taylor, CEO, South Coast Music Group, and manager of the Baby and Tusi. What's up, bro?
What's up?
You guys have a lot of knowledge, man. Really quickly, I'm going to give you guys each 30 seconds really quick and just tell a little bit about your start and your journey about how you got to where you are today. Juliette, we'll start with you.
Well, my journey is long. I've been doing this a long time.
For sure.
But I started out interning when I was in college at University of Maryland. I interned for about 5 years. I ended up moving to New York to intern. A girl I knew from college, her godfather owned WBLS. And from there, I got my first record job. Started as the Jive Mid-Atlantic Regional, which was awesome, being from Chicago, having my first job with a Chicago artist who was huge at the time.
All right.
And, I've just moved around, done some different roles at different labels, but I was at Jive for about 9 years. And then I worked at RCA with some great artists. I work at Virgin, EMI, and now I'm back. I did 11 years with Warner Music Group, and now I'm at Sony with Alamo Records.
Nice, nice, nice. Amir, a little bit about your journey, bro.
Mine started, I guess I could say it started in college when I was throwing parties in college. That's kind of like where I realized that I wanted to be an executive in the music business. And then I ended up in radio in DC, did some radio in Baltimore, did radio in Atlanta. And in Atlanta, that's kind of like where I got on the record side of things. I worked at Warner Music Group with Latrice. And from there, I think I went to Interscope. Left Interscope, went back to radio to be music director. Left them and went to be with Grand Hustle. And I think, some of this stuff is blurry, but Epic Records. Did a lot of stuff over there. Helped bring a huge artist into the building. A couple of artists actually. And then, did some management, did some artist management, and been back in Interscope for almost 5 years now.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Latrice.
Yeah, so started my journey as a teenager at Rockefeller Records, actually on the street team.
Nice.
Went from that. Obviously, there weren't many girls on the street team at the time. It was very male dominated. So got focused and sort of, transitioned to be the head of the girl street team. And then from there, had a real love for the internet. So transitioned into new media, where I oversaw digital campaigns for a variety of the artists on the roster. And did that for a minute before I transitioned over to Atlantic, where I worked with Amir. And there, did digital, various digital marketing campaigns. And also then transitioned into marketing to become a product manager full-time. So kind of oversaw a roster of artists from, the inception of the project all the way to release, etc. And then from there, transitioned to Epic Records, where I worked with Amir again. And had a blast there, working on some amazing artists like Future, Khaled, Yo Gotti, Travis Scott, Bobby Shmurda, etc. Then left there, went to Island, be the GM and EVP there, and was really excited to work there too, because I have a true love for dancehall and reggae music. So Island is the home of Bob Marley, and had a really great time doing that. And obviously now I'm at Def Jam, and also relaunched 4th and Broadway, which is my baby, which I'm really excited about.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Arnold?
Yeah, it started with me from just being an entrepreneur, really, from working with my godfather in a retail store, from street teams to record pools, just being in Charlotte, we didn't have the same opportunity, so I had to pay my own way before I got a gig in a business. And then eventually, if I'm just, doing streets and doing record pool and coming from retail was so important at that time. I got my first gig at Black Crown, which was the home of Aaliyah, the late Aaliyah, Timbaland, Genuine, Missy. It was a management company. It was owned by Aaliyah's uncle, Barry Hankerson. So first time I moved to New York, moving to New York, I was doing a national mix show, still doing street team, still doing a region in the Carolinas. Because that's what would give me the opportunity to be not so independent and, get in the game. They gave me the opportunity, and we was on the road with Tank, and, very home friendly type of label that probably was the most important gig I've ever taken. And from there, I went to Def Jam and was a Southeast Regional for Def Jam, and did some mix show as well in the street teams. And then I went to Interscope, and it's kind of like from there I kind of just started building my own label and just working on the South Coast marketing brand, breaking artists and working with a lot of different artists, from Yo Gotti to you name it, just really helping them develop their craft, and not just doing radio and promotions, because I was actually doing signing artists before with Timbaland and Black Crown. I just went to marketing promotions because I thought that was a way of developing artists after you sign them. And
Right.
to me, the best thing I probably ever done was getting the strategy and the marketing concepts. And last but not least, I worked at Epic with Latrice and Amir.
That's what's
So,
up.
seeing national, and the rest is history,
Yeah, no, that's dope, man. All of y'all have a very storied background. It sounds like there's a lot of movement between labels and working with different artists. So there's a lot of experience there. So hopefully we're going to tap into all of that today for everybody watching. We have some people in the room now. So let me say this really quickly. We appreciate the Illinois Media School for helping to make this happen. They're our official sponsor for this, breaking into the music business segment. The Illinois Media School is helping students break into the music and broadcast business with hands-on training from some of the best in the industry. Visit beonair.com or call 331-215-4762 today to take that first step towards achieving your career dream. So we appreciate them for helping us make this happen. All right. Let's talk about the music business right now, man, in the state that the music business is in particular, hip hop music, because, you guys gave me a list of career changes, and the music has changed along with it throughout those years. And I guess I'll start with you, Latrice, especially with you starting with Rockefeller back in the day to where it is now. Just starting with you, what do you feel about the current state of Black music and hip hop in general?
I think the current state of Black music and hip hop I think it's in a really good place. For me, I love to see us and folks that look like us dominating the charts. And you turn on the radio and you hear our music, and you turn on television. I feel like for so long, there were so many barriers that we had to break down. And if you really think about it, there still haven't been many artists to really transition or have, huge, many hip hop artists that have huge stories at pop radio, which I think is something that, we still have some water to tread there. But I think, collaboration is one of the best forms of how we work together. And I feel like because, we have, like many of our counterparts, people that are on this call, we're able to pick up the phone and call each other and put moves together and make things happen and make sure our artists are working together. And, even though we all work for different companies, And there's always going to be some sort of, competitiveness, but I think collaboration is really how you win and how you can be helpful to your partners and peers. And I think that I love the fact that I'm seeing more unity in hip hop, which is something that I think is very important.
Anybody else want to jump in on that one right there? The state of Black music and hip hop in particular?
I'll jump in. I think what Latrice said is spot on. I mean, outside of us, doing really super big things on the pop side, because I remember when there was a radio station in DC called Flavor 1580, and it was on the AM side, and it only played hip hop and like go-go music. And it was like probably the most listened to radio station at the time. This was like 92. And PGC was the mother station, which was the rhythmic or the churban station at the time. And they nobody would buy commercials on Flavor 1580 because people were still scared of hip hop. You know what I'm saying? So now, like Latrice said, you can't turn on the TV, you can't watch the Super Bowl, you can't do nothing without hip hop. So that station went off the air, and they took the programming and kind of mirrored it and started, doing this churban format, or just adding to what they were doing on that format to PGC. So that's just that 92, that wasn't too long ago. So when you think about where hip hop has come and how it's totally dominating the world in a sense, right? I think it's in a great space, and I'm looking forward to wherever it's going to go next.
Yeah, now just going back to what you said, like I remember coming up, being maybe in high school when radio stations was doing stuff like no rap work days. And you know what I mean? The only time you could even listen to hip hop on the radio may have been on a Friday or Saturday night mix show. So the transition has definitely come a long way, for sure. Juliet, thoughts on that?
I mean, I agree with what everyone has said. I think, for me personally, it was really fulfilling when all of the data that we get today, it's very front and center how powerful this music is. This idea that pop music, my understanding of that was it was the most popular music, hence why it's called that. Right. And once we had access to real-time data, we see that the popular music, to Amir's point, in the world is in fact hip hop. And I'm also personally happy that R&B is having a renaissance, because that's a big part of our culture and our history as well. And I think there's room for all of it. And so much of the hip hop has sampled sort of classic R&B records and soul records that a lot of us grew up listening to. And there is an incredible amount of talent in our community. So I'm so happy to see singers getting the light again, as well as the hip hop continuing to dominate.
Sure.
It's great for all of us.
No doubt. Arnold, you have anything to add to that?
No, I think my friends are spot on. To me, it's really just about getting the respect that we deserve.
Right.
That's no more, no less. It's not even really worth talking about. I mean, we've been changing the culture since Motown. It's just that, when there's what hip hop has done, I'll just say this, it's made, it's made the world a non-format world, to where nobody don't care what format it is no more. It ain't really pop, rhythm, or top 40 no more. It's all mixed together now because everything is so hip hop influenced.
That's real.
So that's just the power of hip hop. You got these pop acts, like I tell my kids all the time, you don't have to try to act white no more, or be accepted in the white society. And that's not even a racist thing, a color thing. You just have to be yourself, because everybody wants your swag and culture now.
Right.
So it's really that to me, it's really just about we just getting what we've been deserving, Well,
let me take it here then, because
the genre, like you don't even hear nothing about new rock bands or none of that no more.
You really don't. You really don't. So let me take it here, because the title of this particular panel is Breaking Into the Music Business. And I'm going to keep it with you. And what is it that you guys are looking for when you're trying to sign talent? What's the most important thing? Because I know a lot of people on the radio side, they're always like, yo, how can we get our song on the radio? But you guys being executives, and I'll start with you, Arnold, what are you guys looking for? What's most important when you're looking to sign talent?
I mean, for me, I'm a little bit, unorthodox, because I've signed, artists from Gotti to Cash Out to, working with just different genres of music, either from a Camila Cabello standpoint, or whatever the case may be, I'm not really influenced by, just the urban title or just a certain genre. Like everybody on my label that I signed is different. So, I guess to feed my little Gemini mind, I've got to pretty much just sign something that I've never broke before. I'm more excited about signing something that's new for the culture, that's really hard to develop and change the game than just signing something that sounds like something else.
Originality, right? Because a lot of people complain about the lack of originality sometimes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm not, a person that is going to fall. It's great if you got a viral movement and TikTok is working for you or whatever. But to me, I'm still going to do old school development. Most of the artists I sign, they're not really streaming. Once you build that fan base, you have more longevity. It's not just like a quick moment if you get something that's going viral, So to me, I look for, like you say, more originality and just people that's unique and comfortable in their own skin and not just chasing what's next. So that's kind of what I look for my label.
Gotcha. All right. So Arnold says originality. What else? What else can we throw out there? Which I got?
I think originality and vision, to me, I think it's nothing better, when trying to identify new talent, someone that actually has vision and an understanding of who they are as an artist and what they want. Sometimes, that may have to be developed, but I think when the artist is kind of already sure, it just makes it so much easier to actually be able to market and promote and to really try to put together a dynamic plan and to reach the audience that, we're targeting. It just makes it easier. Because I think a lot of people sometimes think, artists come to the label and it's just, whatever the label tells them to do. And that's not how it works. A lot of artists come in, they have their vision. Sometimes they need help moving things along or help putting context around it. And that's what we're really there for. But I can speak for myself and the people on this call. I don't think we've ever been the type of executives to tell artists like, you have to do this or you have to do that. It's more about us making suggestions and coming from a place of expertise and seeing where, they need the most help and trying to be a shoulder for them and to really make sure that they're getting their vision out to the public.
For sure. Juliet, anything you want to add to that?
I mean, I think for me, what they both said is very important. And I think, to Arnold's point, for a long time, A&R people, or you would hear like, we're looking for the next Jackson 5, or we're looking for the next, I think happily that's morphing into just looking for the first Latrice, someone who's great, who has their own vision. And I think with all the access that fans have to artists today, you can't cheat the system. It has to be authentic. And that's why it's so important that people do understand what Latrice said is exactly right, that you find someone who's original, who has a vision for who they want to be as an artist, and then you help support that and get it out into the public in the best way possible. But you don't want to fabricate anything or make somebody into something they're not. And typically, I'm sure all of us have experienced it, when labels do that, it never works.
Right.
When you sign someone and ask them to change everything, it never works.
I'm glad y'all said that too, because I think a lot of times, let's say up and coming artists that don't know any better, they might try to run behind a trend. You know what I mean? And think like, this is what's hot right now. This is what I have to do. I have to rap like these guys in order for me to even be noticed. So I'm gonna start with you with this next one, Amir. What are 3 things a new artist can do just to get noticed by a record label? Like, what can they be doing just to kind of, get some of the shine and even be picked up or even be looked at for being signed one day?
I mean, I think it's several things, right? But I know, like, I'm gonna use Future for example, because to me that was like a really good sample of what he was doing and how it got of the people's attention, and that was 2011 or something like that, 2010. Yep. So the game has changed a lot since then, but some of this stuff, like Juliet and Arnold was saying, like, it's still the same. Like, you can't just change. Some of this stuff is still the same. So I think with Future, right, he was flooding the marketplace with music. Like, he, had the whole South on smash. Like, he was doing shows, and Titty Boy was doing the same thing. They was doing shows, and they had records being played on the radio. They had a team. They had a team around them that was doing this stuff for them, and they were being present everywhere. So, one thing I would say is get you a team, what I'm saying? And somebody that knows something and they know how to connect dots, because that's what you're going to need. You're gonna need somebody that can like have a relationship with a DJ, or have a relationship with somebody at a podcast, or have a relationship with somebody, you know, at the radio station. Like, you know what I mean? And it don't gotta be a whole bunch of force and stuff like that, but just had the kind of relationships, right? Because at the end of the day, what Future had, he had a team of DJs that was going extremely hard for him. And that worked for him. You know what I'm saying? So what ended up happening is, you know, we just started talking about it, and it just kind of worked its way in. So I think having a team, having a relationship, and then work, like put the work in. Like, don't let this, you know, a lot of times artists think that once they sign to a label, it's done. Like they throw their hands up. They're like, oh, I ain't got to work no more. Nah. Like, don't let me and Arnold and Juliet and Latrice outwork you, yo. Like, you supposed to have that work ethic already. You can tell when an artist treats his career like he can't eat if he don't get out here and work. And, you know, we're going to do that anyway. So it's like, if you got those three things, and there's some other stuff too, but if you, I feel like those are the three things, the most important things that you should have. You should have an impeccable work ethic. You should have a team with some relationships, and you just got to get out here and do this shit, yo.
And to piggyback off of what Amir said, I think it's really important also to know your market, like know where you're from. Like if you're from, like for me, I'm from Brooklyn. So if I was an artist, I would make sure I knew everywhere that music is happening in Brooklyn. Where are people performing? Where are shows happening? Where, you know, is live music happening? What stores are people shopping at? Like just know your home market. Cause it's like, if you can't break in your home market, then how are you going to break on the West Coast or the Midwest or the South or wherever you're from? So I think that's really important, like, and identify those people in the market that you can bump into places. And I think it's really important because I feel like people just think it's about like harassing people on social media or like DMing people 100 times.
Right.
And it's not about that. It's like, you know, you have to figure out a way to make your approach different because every artist is doing that. You know, we get hundreds of DMs every single day. So it's like, what can you do that actually stands out? To make people notice, and how can you reach people and really get them to tap into your music and your movement and what you're doing? And I feel like that's by, you know, doing your thing on social media and obviously flooding the market with music, to Amir's point, but also like, what does your content look like? You know, what music videos are you shooting? What other ancillary content you have? What UGC content do you have outside of your music videos? And how are you touching the people? Like, does your neighborhood know about you? You know, somebody has to show up to your first couple of shows and be in the audience. Like, who are those people? So like, identify your network and really tap into them and utilize them, as opposed to just DMing people on Instagram that you may never meet until you get to a certain place in your career.
Man, I feel you on that, because we get them same links and them same DMs all the time at the radio station. I want to piggyback on something Latrice said, but I'm gonna bring it to you, Arnold. How important is social media right now? Because even what I'm noticing, like, you know, obviously I'm hearing songs first at this point on TikTok, on Instagram, and then they're working their way, you know, through the audience and making their way to the radio. So how important is social media right now for new artists?
I mean, to me, I feel like it's very important because it's gotten to the point now, it's gotten to the point now where people in this generation of younger people it's not really about the culture as much as it is about the person. You know what I mean? Like, people want to know who you're dating and what's going on in your personal life just as much as the music now. So it's like, you damn near got to make them like you and the song, versus back in the days, you know, even from a Michael Jackson standpoint, nobody really knew his personal life. You know what I mean?
Right. There was a mystique there.
Yeah, you didn't know about Prince and Michael Jackson. You just knew, and I'm just using them as an example. You know, I know it's a lot of artists that roll the same way, but I think that when you add social media, it's actually a blessing and a curse, because you can be big on social media and nobody care about your music. But I think if you really serious about your music and you use social media platform as a platform to like get exposure and get out, then really you don't have to do as many shows, because you can bring the audience that would go to a concert to your phone, to your living room. You know what I mean? So social media is in any viral movement is actually really good, but you got to be consistent. I mean, Tusi, my artist. Tusi don't even like going to clubs, don't drink, don't smoke,
Mm.
but he's doing his thing. I had him on a lot of tours before the pandemic, but he posts 3-4 times a day in his living room, in his house, make it look
Right.
big because he just knows how to post and work his craft. So you ain't got to always go out and be out to post. You just got to be active and consistent on social media. So I think any viral platform, whether it's TikTok, social media, YouTube, even the DSPs, I think it's important that you work those platforms because it helps with the music when it's time for the song to go.
Engagement. And we done been to all of these Twitter, social media, like we done been to every platform and had a meeting with these people. And the word that they use the most is engagement. So
It's crazy, right?
Yeah, they encourage artists to like get into the YouTube comments and talk to your fans. You know what I'm saying? They say the same thing on, Twitter and Instagram and all of them. They talk about engagement. So that's important.
Yeah.
It's really important. You see so many people that like you'll go on their Instagram and they have one post up, right? So it's like, if you're not posting, how do you expect your network to grow? How do you expect fans to discover you? Because we know there's so many things happening now with the Instagram algorithm and a lot of the algorithms on these social media platforms. So it's like, if there's someone new that comes to your page or is discovering you for the first time, they might not have seen your post from today, or they may see a post from last week. It's just weird how it works now. And it's based on like, followers of followers. So it's like, you can't just post one time and expect everyone to get your message. You have to constantly be engaging with people. And at least if you're not posting on your feed, then talk to people, talk to your fans, talk to people in the DMs. Like you said, go in your comments and interact with people. That stuff matters. That's really how you develop your first like core fan base that will be with you for the rest of your career.
So there's a little bit of backlash that comes along with that. There are people out there that say, well, I feel like record labels are only chasing people that have a lot of followers and not necessarily the most talented artists. So Juliet, if you get somebody that responds to you that way, what would you say to that person?
I mean, again, engagement is not about the number of followers you have. It's about the amount of engagement that the followers you do have with you. So some people have 1 million followers and they have 72 likes and we all think they bought the followers, right?
Right.
Some people have 5,000 followers and they have 675 likes. The people that are following them are genuinely interested. And for me, I see things, your page and your posting and content can't all be about how beautiful you are, or you have the best drip. If you're an artist, it should not be silent. I cannot tell you how many people DM me that I'm the greatest artist ever, and I go look at the page and there's not a note of music. Right. They got a really fly outfit. They having photo shoots. They doing all kinds of stuff. They taking pictures with all kind of expensive cars. And in my mind, I'm like, if you got money to be posted up in front of a Bentley, then you have a couple of dollars to make some music somewhere. Right. Like, I don't, I don't understand. And I also think it's important in the model that the music is today, it is about consistency and quantity. And if you're not really, to Amir's earlier point, if you're not really working hard, you're not going to have the content to keep up. And consistently creating content and sharing it with your fan base is how you grow it. And most importantly, how you keep the ones you have engaged with you. And it is so important to get into the comments and all of that. I mean, I think, all of us in the music business for sure, and the greater public have probably been watching, as Money Long's record has ascended as this independent artist. She's so phenomenal, but a big part of what I think made the difference for her this time, because we've all known in the business she was very talented for a very long time, is that her engagement with the fans on every platform, like I believe that she didn't sleep. I think she was reposting everybody, talking to everybody in the comments, switch over to TikTok, talk to them there, switch over to Snapchat, talk to them there, get on her Facebook. You have to also realize when you're an aspiring artist, that's your competition. There's somebody doing that.
That's
if you're posting yourself looking cute every Saturday, you're not in the game.
So we know social media is important. I'm gonna stay with you for a second, Julia. Where do you guys go to look for new artists? Is there a particular place like that you guys say, let me check this today, or let me go here today? Like, what is your process of finding new artists?
To Teresa's point, we go everywhere where the music is. We go to SoundCloud, YouTube, Snapchat, TikTok, Instagram, anywhere that there's music, live shows, word of mouth, artists and producers you already know. Everyone is interested in doing good music with great artists. You find them where you find them. But, and I think people who say, oh, people, you know, they're only signing artists who have a ton of Instagram followers, they're not paying attention. Yes, some people get signed because they're really quote unquote popular, they're well known, they have some level of notoriety in social media, but there's a lot of artists that don't. They're just incredibly talented. I mean, I would be curious, like Arnold is probably, you know, the closest to this process out of all of us. How many followers did the baby have when you signed him?
Not a lot. Not just the baby. I mean, none of my artists really have any
To
stream.
see any of them.
Have been streaming or had a big following, because it was all about, to me, I was in love with them as an artist and the music, you know. I'm glad you asked me that, Juliet, because the artist that is probably gonna get the biggest deal on South Coast is, you know, Lil Shorty Scott, artist from Atlanta. I just signed him a year and a half ago. And let me tell you how tricky it is and how much of a genius we think we are, you know, because we've had so much success in the business, you know, and we've all had success. We all know each other. We're all great friends, you know, so this shit don't really mean nothing. Because if you haven't broken artists and you're not in the culture enough to change the game and not get too old or not try to follow fad in the young game and just be consistent with what you are, it don't matter. Shorty Scott will probably be the biggest deal that I've signed from any artist, and I signed him as a whole different artist. Ronte don't play. He's from Atlanta. I've only got 2 artists that's not from Carolina. He's streaming 1 million streams a day on Apple and Spotify. He always knew how to go viral, but this time around, he's in front of the song. He's in front of the image. He's in front of his new title. He's doing videos. His name is attached and his face is attached to the songs. And it's not just viral, TikTok, whatever, which makes it more connective, you know? So now it's connecting on DSPs, it's connecting on YouTube, and TikTok is going crazy as well. So, you know, and he's super confident. He wasn't ready to come out as Ronte. He's only got 4,000 likes on IG. IG is probably his worst platform, but his engagements is crazy.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So to answer your question, sometimes people like, have you signed that? You always sign these, you know, superstar artists that's really trying to be about, like, everybody think I'm trying to find the next Jay-Z and Nas, and which I am, because I really like real rap, but he can rap with the best of them too. He just has a high-pitched, squeaky voice, you know, different than a Young Thug or whatever. But you just have to see sometimes the beauty in the artist. You got what I mean? You might, and honestly, if I like every single song that an artist play for me, I'm probably gonna lose anyway, because I'm not supposed to like every single song. You know?
Gotcha. Yeah.
At this point, you gotta be like, damn, you know what? My daughter like this record, or the 22, 23-year-olds, I can work. That's when the marketing mind and the strategy mind.
Right. Certain songs are for certain people.
Yeah, because you're not gonna know it all, because everything ain't my generation. But you know, to piggyback off what Juliet said, I mean, like, really, you know, I took a chance and signed a kid that I thought was special, and he's showing me exactly how special he is, and nobody was looking at him because he didn't have the numbers.
Right.
You know? So
Latrice, you remember when we brought Travis in there? We had more followers on Instagram than Travis did when he came.
No, it was literally starting from the ground up.
Right.
Like, also no music videos. I remember like fighting to get funds from his, you know, discretionary fund to be able to shoot a video, because I'm like, this artist he has such amazing visual ideas, like visuals, content, and his live performance. I knew were going to be 2 key pieces for him, and they really were. So it's like, to see us, you know, how far he's come, it's really amazing. But it was literally starting from scratch. Most of the artists that we work with are starting from scratch. There's holes that we need to figure out how we can like draw the gap there, but it's not an easy process, and it takes time. I think the most important thing is like having patience. You're not going to go, unless there's some crazy moment that happens, or, a superstar artist jumps on your record. It takes time to build. I feel like it takes 3 to 5 years, typically, right? And that's really the threshold for, from what I feel like we've all experienced on this call. And it's like, if you're not committed to that journey and that time, then what are you really doing?
That's important, man. Patience is definitely important. I want to take that, and I want to start with you on this one, Amir, because one of the big conversations right now is independent artists doing it on your own, that whole conversation. Do you feel like it's better to be an independent artist first and then sign with a major later, or, go with a major right out the gate? Like, what's your perspective? Which one do you think is better?
I think having done it both ways, I think it matters. It depends on the artist. Some artists are okay with just filling up 1,500 seat venues. Like, they cool with that. Some artists want to fill up United Center, you know what I'm saying? And some artists want to they want to be globally known. Some artists are just good with being hot in their city. So it depends on the artist. You know what I mean? One of the things I like to ask artists is, what kind of artist do you want to be? You know what I mean? Do you want to have the collab deals with Nike? Do you want to have, do you want to be able to fill up Staples Center? You know what I'm saying? Or Crypto Center, whatever it's called now. But, I think it depends. Every artist, every situation isn't going to be the same for every artist. Right. I think what labels do is they make people superstars, right? So, you know what I mean? You can, I'm gonna go back to the Travis Scott thing, because when we brought Travis Scott in there, the only people knew about Travis was us and Kanye West. Nobody else knew about him. You know what I'm saying? And he wasn't even like, it just was, but we, like Latrice said, we knew that he was going to be something. And he knew that he was going to be something. You know what I'm saying? I even had my hands on Corday. I tried to get Corday signed to Interscope. This kid told me before his name was Entendre when I met him. And I drove to Towson State to go kick it with him. That's where he went to school at. Right. And he told me when we sat down for dinner, he said, I'm gonna be the biggest artist. I'm gonna be one of the biggest artists in rap history. And that kind of attitude, you need to go to a major.
Right. Got you.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you want some, I'm cool. Like I can just do some shows and I'm cool, because there are artists that are just cool with doing 5,000 seaters.
Right.
They cool with that.
Right.
You might want to stick to the indie. You know what I'm saying? You might want to stick to the indie game. And if you do get with a major, let them know that, so they know how to super service that. But every situation is different. Let
me ask this question, because there are a lot of times we see the collaboration between the two, like we're in South Coast.
Ventures, that's what I was just about to say.
Talk about that collaboration.
Yes. So to me, I've been a part of that. And Arnold is one of our partners right now, currently at Interscope. And to me, those are the best situations, right? Because that means you already come in with infrastructure. You come in with a team of people who gonna know how to do a lot of things. And you get to have some leverage on your deal. Like, you get to say, okay, I know how to do this. I got a team to do this. I can do this. And I need y'all to do this. Yeah. And those, when they work great, they work great. We all have worked with JVs, and we know when them partnerships are working good, man, everybody's happy.
Let me move to the next question really quickly, because I know we're starting to run out of time, but I'd like to get an answer from everyone on this one. A lot of artists coming up in the game don't necessarily have a whole lot of money and they want to make moves. So what would you all say if an artist has very little money? What should they invest in? How should they be spending their money wisely to have the biggest impact in getting signed and getting on? And Latrice, I'll start with you.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
If an artist has very little money and they're trying to get into this game, how should they invest it? What would be the smartest way for them to spend their money, starting out, trying to get noticed, trying to build a buzz, or, where should they go with their paper?
I think content is really important. Figure out a shooter that you can get with to shoot all your music videos and content, somebody that can travel you, that can document your journey, who also is a still photographer or takes photos of you, because you always need photos as well to go along with everything for whatever you're doing. For social moments, DSPs, all that stuff. So I think a majority of it is content and digital, figuring those out. I think everybody wants like, oh, I need, to have my song on the radio, and I need, all these other things. I think focusing on the internet is where it's at. Everything is digital. Everything is about content now. So figuring that out, that team and who those people are that can shoot stuff, turn around and edit it, vlogs, episodic content, other short form pieces of content that really show your personality, things that you're into, interests you have, you tapping into your hometown. That I think is extremely important.
Okay. Arnold, what would you say to that? Where should they spend their money?
I mean, it's crazy you said that, because I mean, it's a couple of different things. We talked about social media, and we talked about the kid I was just talking about with Shorty Scott. He's doing videos and basically in front of his house, and it's one of the biggest videos, but not to keep plugging my artists, but I'm gonna keep plugging my artists.
Still marketing, there you go.
Yeah, but I think at the end of the day is how creative do you have to be to not have any money to shoot video content in front of your house, and everything in the video you're using is not props or big production. It's your homeboy with a camera who has a great camera, and it's the biggest video, and you made it work. You know what I'm saying? You made it work. And to me, like, I'm more intrigued by that than somebody calling me asking me for $100,000 for a video, when
Right.
we know a $5,000 video on an iPhone is just as $500 video. I'm sorry, I say
Right.
5,000.
Yeah.
So it don't always take a lot of money, more so than being creative. So I don't think people exaggerate the money because they believe in the marketing aspect of it and the perception of how we make it look. But most of the videos and most of the people that's winning right now, they don't spend a whole lot of money, on a lot of the things that people think they do until you go to a label. So as far as being independent, you don't have to spend a whole lot of money. It does cost. It ain't free, but you don't have to spend a lot of money and go crazy because it may not work,
For sure. Juliet?
Completely agree with what Latrice and Arnold said. And I think, to that point, it doesn't take a lot of money. And I know that I, for one, am incredibly impressed when someone is really creative and they didn't have a lot of money and they come up with a really great, compelling piece of content. It actually adds another layer to our understanding of their talent, right? Like, they have a talent and a vision that we started out talking about. Everyone's looking for someone with some vision. And recently, since we're talking about our artists, in an interview that Dirk did, he talked about the fact that he certainly has the money to make big budget videos at this point. And he talked about the fact that he likes to make run and gun videos all day because he personally always preferred to watch them.
Mm.
He wasn't, in the interview, he said that he found the like sort of more organic street videos much more interesting to watch.
Right.
So now that he has the chance to make big budget videos, he doesn't choose to most of the time. And to Arnold's point, I think that there became this myth in the world that it takes a ton of money to break into the music business. And I remember somebody said, they need $200,000 to get into the music business and get a record. That is not true. I worked with Meek Mill in my career. He recorded his first mixtape that helped him get going in like a basement of a house that was falling down in North Philly.
Right.
He went where what was available to him. He made the best product that he could make. And what always is so meaningful about when Meek speaks is it's so heartfelt in his lyrics, when he gives interviews. So it's not the most polished and the shiniest thing all the time, but what you really take away from it is this guy is really passionate about what he's talking about. And that's the stuff that there's not enough money to fabricate that. You either have that or you don't.
Mm.
And that's what makes people special. And I think that's what we're all looking for.
Mm. Amir?
Man, everybody been spot on. I mean, we all know of different circumstances where artists have maximized their opportunities without having a whole bunch of money. Juliet speaks about Meek. I knew Meek because he kind of was rocking with us at Grand Hustle first. So, I took him in a van and it was like, yo, we got enough to go get a white van. We had $120. We go get this white van, get gas, and we get on the road and go meet some DJs. And so by the time he got signed to Atlantic, a couple of people had already know about him. They was like, oh, he had the record called Make Him Say.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So,
Yep.
you know, if you can gather up some funds and you find somebody that believe in you, you know, again, it goes back to having that team, because somebody else got to see the vision too.
Right.
Somebody else got to say, man, I see what's going on here. We ain't got a whole lot, but we can put our chips together, and, you know, I don't need to be paid right now. Like, I know what this is going to be. Like, you know, some of them things you just feel in your gut. You know what I'm saying? You know, it's going to be something. You know, when I met Meek, he was moving around with Charlie Mack.
Yep.
So I know Charlie Mack was opening doors for him that he couldn't get open on his own. And if you got somebody like that, or you got somebody on your team that knows somebody, that's more valuable than the money could ever be.
All right, cool, man. We got a last 10 minutes where we want to start answering some questions from people in the chat. There's a lot of people in the chat talking. Real quick, shout out to Illinois Media School for sponsoring this Breaking Into the Music Business portion of the WGCI Music Summit. One of the questions coming out of the chat is, does age make a difference when looking for a new artist? And I think that's interesting, because we're in such a different space now where we have, you know, somebody, let's just use Jay-Z as an example, somebody who's still very culturally relevant and has reached 50 years old. Does age make a difference when it comes to looking for a new artist, though? I'll let that for anybody who wants to answer that.
I'm gonna start first. I'm gonna tell you what I think. I think that this is a young man's or a young woman's sport, right? However, that doesn't mean that you can't get in it if you are over a certain age. And the reason I say that is because it's a lot of work, and you can't make, this is just my theory, and I could be wrong. I don't think you can get what you can get out of a 45-year-old, what you can out of a 26-year-old. You know what I'm saying? So I could be wrong, you know what I'm saying? But and I know I'm wrong to a certain extent, because I tried to get a certain artist signed, and an exec told me, or he said the reason he didn't sign him was because he was too old, and this artist is one of the biggest artists now. So I know it works both ways, but I do feel like, you know what I'm saying, you can't like, if I'm getting ready to sign a 30-year-old, I know a certain stuff they just may not do no more. They're not gonna want to do. But if I got me a 20-year-old, I might be able to get that 20-year-old to walk through a wall. So,
Well, 30 is a new 20, so.
Yeah, until they get in that motherfucking bus, gotta go visit them radio stations, answer the same questions over and over again. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean,
anybody else want to jump in on that one?
Yeah, I mean, I gotta agree with him. I mean, it's a young man's game as an artist. I mean, obviously as execs, we can be seasoned, but I think that that it's also, you know, it's really, it's no different than you know, when I brought Gotti to Epic. We had been working for years and just grinding independent, you know, and I just decided it was time to take you into a situation. And he was already, you know, seasoned in his career, you know. But you gotta, if you got something going already, then they'll probably take a chance on you if you're 30 or whatever, or in your 30s. But if you just starting out, never put an album out before, and you're so new, you know, it's getting to the point where it's a business, and how much can they market you? And you hate to be, you know, try to understand the age discrimination, but you also want to make sure that these artists can be on socials and be relevant to what's going on today. And I think in some situations it's been like, wow, this artist hot. I don't give a fuck how old he is. You know what I mean? Because if you got a hot record, they don't care if you're 40. Right. You know, but I think it's, you know, just gotta be, you gotta already be kind of moving if you're gonna get a deal, from the way that corporate America looks at this business if you're an older artist. But it's a little bit of scrutiny in that, because I think sometimes it's a little prejudice in there that I don't like when it comes to that, because I see a lot of the Spanish artists, they be old, you know what I mean? They still be fine, you know what I mean, from a global standpoint. So, you know, it's just, it's a little tricky when it comes to urban, how we get so age gated so quick though, you know?
Right. Nah, yeah, exactly. All right, so let me go to Juliet on this one. And this is a good question, because we have not talked about this at all tonight. Do you guys look for producers and beat makers? And what about the process for the people that are not in front of the camera, but behind the music getting into the game? Like, how do you guys approach that?
So, I mean, look, different segment of the business, it's very specific to what you do and what your company is into, because most major labels, there's a publishing arm, and that's where the producers would be signed. In Arnold's case, someone like him, he can do both. It's his own business. He can create it in whatever way he wants to do it. But for producers and creators, it's much the same as what Latrice said. If you are a person who creates music, you should know where music is happening in your town. You should be in the studios, luck up on a session, maybe get to play. If you play an instrument, be a session player to get the relationships and get started. If you're a writer, go to writing workshops, meet other writers, meet other people who make beats, go onto YouTube and get free beats and write to those. There's so many places as creators to put your music, and right now content is king. And I just want to touch on the age thing because I think I feel a little bit differently. I mean, ultimately, talent is the most important thing. Like, I don't know that we can make you a pop star if you're 45. But to Latrice's point, it also takes about 3 to 5 years to develop. So if we sign someone who's in their early 30s, we're still looking at mid 30s to break. That's not unprecedented. It can happen.
Right.
But it's so much about work ethic and talent and intent. And I think that if you have a 30-something-year-old who's really talented and who's willing to do the work, even though Amir seems to think they can't have the stamina, I feel like with vitamins and shit, maybe they can make it.
Uh-oh, call your lawyer.
I think,
that is hilarious.
I think it's work ethic. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
If someone has an amazing song, and not that this person was new, but I remember an interview when Tamar Braxton was talking about how it took her until she was almost 40 years old to get her first hit.
Right.
And how much it meant to her because people told her to quit.
Right.
And then the words of the late, great Nipsey Hussle, the only difference between him and everybody else is he didn't quit.
He didn't quit.
There
Same
you
thing
go.
with Titty Boy. Same exact thing with Titty Boy. Like,
right.
You know, he was Titty Boy. Like,
right.
It wasn't 2 Chainz. He was Titty Boy, and he had been around in the system and everything. And they was looking for another deal, and I was trying to bring them over to Epic, and you know, it didn't happen. You know what I'm saying? But look at them now. You know what I mean?
And a lot of us on this call love Ricky Rose.
Yeah.
Rick Ross stayed grinding too.
Absolutely.
That's who I thought of too, because I understood that he was like in his 30s when he finally got on.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So it can happen.
You know, nothing is 100%, but it might be easier to get it if you have more room to grow and develop and keep working on your craft if you're a little younger when you start. Right. But I just didn't want to leave this without saying that I don't want anyone who's 30 years old to think it's too late for them.
Exactly. I agree.
Got you. All right, this question I want to start it off with Latrice, and I know we're almost out of time, but I thought this was important as well. This was also coming from the chat. How does an international music manager and label exec make the transition to getting into music in the state? I guess in the States. And this person is from Nigeria that's checking in. And I started with you because you were talking earlier about, you know, loving being at Island and dealing with some of the dancehall music at the time. So,
well, I think labels that are working with, and now it's every label, right? Every label and major music company has an international arm that we work with. So we're tapped into them, they're tapped into us, and we're always pulling over international artists to work them domestically in the US. So again, if you're making it hot in your hometown, and you do your research and you figure out who the people are, what labels are in your hometown that are connected to the larger labels, then you can transition in that way. Outside of that, there's no better thing than being in the US or whatever country you're looking to make waves in. You know, if you're from Africa and you want to work with artists in the UK, you got to go to the UK. You got to pull up in the UK. So it's like figuring out who you can collaborate with from an artist to artist perspective, or maybe there's a producer out there or a writer that wants to work with you. And then figuring out how to get out there and going and pulling up and working with them. And then while you're out there working that music scene, you know, what venues, where are people going for shows, you know, who's doing what out there, and who are some of the new and upcoming artists out in these markets that you can work with. That's really the entry point. It's through collaboration and word of mouth. You know, that happens a lot also in what we do, because I have people call me up all the time like, yo, you ever heard of this artist from blah, blah, blah? This artist is making waves in Jamaica, or this artist, you know, I do a lot of work with Caribbean artists, and, you know, a lot of that is word of mouth, or from producers or writers, or just me being in the market. Like, I go to Jamaica, I go to Bahamas, I go to all these places, and I'm like listening to the radio, and, you know, you bump into people, but you got to really be tapped into like what's happening in your surroundings. You can't just be kind of like on the internet. I'm a firm believer in, as we say now, being outside. There's value to being outside and being amongst the people, with the people. So.
Right. Last question coming from the group chat, from people checking in with us, as because we're getting close to wrapping up. And anybody can answer this. How can an R&B artist stand out in a world dominated by rap right now?
To me,
I think it was Juliet that said earlier that just, you know, there's sort of an R&B renaissance happening right now.
It's definitely.
There's R&B renaissance happening, and one of the most competitive deals in the music business in the last 6 weeks is an R&B artist by the name of Money Long.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
So how you get noticed is the same. Content, consistency, engagement, talent, quality work. And if you go look back at her different social media outlets, you'll see the amount of engagement that she was participating in with her fans, and in comments and reposting people, you know, funny ones to her music, people singing her music. I think that it's much the same. It's about, the great thing about the internet is it's made artists so powerful because it's so big that you just have to stay after it until you find your people and they find you.
Yeah. I'll piggyback that. I think a lot of R&B artists, you know, you got to realize it's not old school quartet R&B. You know, you got Giveon, you got, you know, Khalid. R&B is
Summer
not,
Walker, killing
right.
Ari Lennox.
Exactly. It's not the traditional type R&B no more. It's like you got to have some type of cool, different swag that can relate to the younger people, younger generation. Well, not even younger generation, but the hip hop generation. But the problem we have with R&B right now is that most of the artists, most of the rappers are melodic now. So they're the cool guys per se right now, and they're melodic. So the R&B guys kind of have to go a different way just to get more notice, because most of the rappers are singing now, you know.
The rappers in that lane a little bit.
Yeah, so you got to switch it up. But I think it's possible for R&B to go because the demographics is so much more. You know what I mean? But you have to really be creative on how you market yourself.
I mean, most of the artists that we mentioned from, you know, the R&B side, they got found on YouTube. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, so they working outside of Money Long. She was writing records for a gang of people, you know, long before this thing has happened for her. But Summer, YouTube, Ari, YouTube, LMA, YouTube, like, you know, and working. That's considered work. Like, don't just feel like you going on YouTube to have fun. Like, you're going up there to promote yourself, and you need to be engaging, because some of us are always watching. We see everything. Like, it may not be our direct eyes, but it's somebody we know. We checking out stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, we see stuff, and this is a competitive market. We all in competition with each other, but we are all good friends too at the same time. So I might see something and don't say nothing until I need to figure out who I need to pass this along to. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean? So it may not be my building. It may be somebody else's building. So again, you know what I'm saying? We see it. So if you're not utilizing these social media platforms, like Juliet said, like, you're not working. You know.
Well, yeah, I appreciate all of y'all. We appreciate all of y'all. You guys have put out a lot of information, a lot of knowledge here today. And, you know, we appreciate it, man. Breaking into the music business, WGCI Music Summit, brought to you by Illinois Media School. Before we wrap this up, you know, I'm sure there's people watching right now that might want to, you know, just follow y'all on social media. We talked about engagement and finding artists. So if we could go by and just let everybody, you know, put your social media out there for those following. And you never know, the next artist might hit y'all up real quick. You know what I mean? I'll start with, let's go with Latrice. Unless you don't want to put your social media out there.
Oh, no, my social media is at Treece Rock Brooklyn. It's TriceRoc. BKLYN. Rock because Rockefeller is the first label I worked at, and Brooklyn because I'm from Brooklyn.
Arnold?
Simple, the label, South Coast Music Group at Gmail. And I will
Alright.
hit you back. I'll look at it. I'll hit you back.
Juliet?
Mine is easy too. Mine is Miss Juliet Jones, MS Juliet Jones.
All right. And Amir?
Mine is my first name, Amir, Amir, and my middle name, Kari, Khary. So it's at Amir Kari.
Word. And I'll just throw mine out there at Radio King Kyle, WGCI, breaking into the music business. Man, thank y'all. Y'all all did a great job today. We appreciate your time. I know y'all busy and got a lot of things going on, so it's greatly appreciated for sure.
Appreciate you.
All right.
All right.
There it is. WGCI Music Summit,
Thanks,
breaking into the
everyone.
music business.
All right, y'all.
A wrap.
Seeing y'all.